Today the lesson will be on abstract expressionism. We will be studying the artist Jean-Michel Basquiat, an artist from the 20th century. This lesson is for the 8th grade. The objective of our lesson is after doing the lesson, you should be able to identify distinguishing characteristics and styles of the artist being studied, which our artist is Jean-Michel Basquiat. After learning about Jean-Michel Basquiat and taking a look at his different artwork, we will also be able to create a rendition of one of the artist's paintings using a scratch art process. This process we'll talk about a little later in the lesson, but that will be our objectives for today's lesson. Jean-Michel Basquiat, born December 22nd, 1960, passed away August 12th, 1988, was an American artist. Basquiat first achieved fame as part of Samo, an informal graffiti duo who wrote enigmatic epigrams in the cultural hotbed of the Lower East Side of Manhattan during the late 1970s, where the hip-hop, punk, and street art movements had begun. Basquiat first attracted attention for his graffiti in New York City in the late 1970s under the name Samo. Working with a close friend, he tagged subway trains and Manhattan buildings with cryptic symbols and text and phrases that was seen throughout the city. He took this graffiti and then he was able to make it into the mainstream art world up in upper Manhattan at an early age. Jean-Michel had many resources and he had many sources of inspiration for his artwork. His mother encouraged him to pursue his artistic talents. However, he never did attend an art school. He was a self-taught artist. He began drawing at an early age on sheets of paper his father, an accountant, brought home from the office. As you can take a look at this slide right here, this shows Jean-Michel's the way that he had a childlike way of painting as well as placing his images on his canvases. His colors are bright, vibrant, and also will tell a story. If you take a look at this slide, you will see how this child is holding their crayon as well as the image that they are placing on their piece of paper. Jean-Michel always held his paintbrushes and or his pencils in a childlike manner, manifesting how he was brought up, and again, as him being a self-taught artist, not being taught how to hold a pencil and or a paintbrush in the correct manner. This also goes along with the way that he applied his paint onto his canvases, again in a childlike manner. In his earlier works, Jean-Michel was known for using a crown motif, which was his way of celebrating Black people as majestic royalty or deeming them as saint. Now, as you can take a look, this would be a characteristic that you would be able to see whenever you would take a look at a Jean-Michel painting. Describing the crown itself in further detail, artist Francesco Clemente said Jean-Michel's crown has three peaks for his three royal lineages: the poet, the musician, the great boxing champion. He measured his skill against all he deemed strong without prejudice as their taste or age. One of the characteristics of a Jean Michel painting would be the crown. Take a look at this painting by Jean Michel. As you can see, it is rather childish, not really lifelike, but it does resemble or have the characteristic of situations that may have been going on in his life. Then I would ask you this question while you're taking a look at this painting. Would you consider this art, graffiti, or abstract art? And in the way with the lesson that we're going to do afterwards, what has to do with scratch art, would you be able to reproduce this as a painting, or would you be able to reproduce this as a pencil drawing or a crayon drawing? Again, taking a look at this painting by Jean Michel, it also gives you the insight and the characteristics that you would find in a Jean Michel painting. Again, as Jean Michel, taking a look at this painting, again, childlike. Take a look at the eggs on the side. Again, something that represents his life, how he was raised, again, how he lived when he had finished doing a painting. His Another Jean Michel we're taking a look at, identifying the characteristics in his painting, has to do with an African American. The eggs on the side may represent the hunger that he went through when he, at a young age, dropped out of school as well as ran away from home. Many times he had ran away from home. But the characteristic of Jean Michel, that his paintings will not show the proper features of the human. It will only show childlike images of what he is trying to represent and what he is trying to portray on his paintings. Another Jean Michel. Take a look at how this painting is done. Again, its characteristics of not showing the proper features when he is doing a figure and or a portrait of somebody. It's childlike. Take a look at the eggs that he has on the side. They're very childlike, something that you would see at a younger age. Again, we are talking about Jean Michel and how later on, after this lesson is complete, that we will be able to do a rendition of a Jean Michel painting using a scratch art technique. Let's take a look at this painting by Jean Michel. So you see the birds. Again, not a bird that is distinct in features, but again, it shows an image that he is also portraying, showing strength and showing a bird that's flying high. Again, you can take a look that he doesn't have no distinct feathers on this bird, but he is showing a childlike manner. Again, a characteristic of Jean Michel that you will find in his paintings. The colors are vibrant. He uses different ways that he applies his paints onto the canvas, again illustrating a childlike manner that we should be able to reproduce or do a rendition of at the end of this lesson. After we have taken several looks at a Jean Michel paintings, his childlike manner, the characteristics of his painting, how it is applied to the canvas, and the features that he puts on his canvas, let's take a look at a demonstration on scratch art. That way that you will be able to see how scratch art is done. And then also that after the demonstration, that we're going to take a look at several scratch art work that has been completed, which will give you an idea of how scratch art is just almost similar to the way that Jean-Michel does his paintings. Again, it's a method that you will use after this lesson is over. So let's take a look at the demonstration on scratch art. After the demonstration that you have taken a look on scratch art technique, take a look at this painting here. This is a scratch art in black and white. As you can see, it could be similar to a Jean-Michel, the way that he applies his paint to his canvases using a childlike manner. When you were in elementary school, you were given crayons as well as colored pencils, and you were asked to create a design or an image, and you were able to do that in a childlike manner. Again, this is a piece of black and white scratch art. Just gives you an idea what scratch art can look like. Let's take a look at several more. Compare and contrast. Compare and contrast Jean-Michel's on the right and the scratch art on the left. Both are figures. Both are doing something. Both are showing water. One is in black and white, which is on the left, and Jean-Michel's is in color. But it just lets you know that there are no details. There's just the lines. There's just the figures. There's just the colors. But this is what the artist sees. And this is what I'm wanting you to do once we start the scratch art process, is that for you just to use your imagination. Jean-Michel's artwork, compare and contrast it to the scratch art that you see on the left. Both of them are an animal, both of them have lines in it, both of them have colors in it. But again, it's that person's inspiration, or either that person's what they see in that animal that they've decided to place on their surface. They're not perfect. They are examples, or they might be figures of what the artist is taking a look at that moment. How does this artwork compare to a painting? This is a piece of scratch art. You see how the beautiful lines in it, the shapes, and you can see the colors. How would this compare to a Jean Michel? How would he put his characteristics in there to show his feelings, to show his heritage, to show those people who have inspired him? Again, this is scratch art, something that you should take a look at, something that may help you out, knowing that you do not have to be perfect or have any details that is very distinct in your artwork. Well, we've taken a look at Jean Michel paintings. We saw how he put together his lines, shapes, the color. We also took a look at his childlike way of putting his characteristics on the canvas. You are now going to be able to create a basket using scratch art paper. I want you to take your time. I want you to decide which would you like to do. The next image will show you the type of material that you will be using. It does not show the scratch art paper, but you will get that in your lesson. Okay, this is the image of the wooden stylus sticks that you will be using to do your rendition of Jean Michel. Again, you're going to decide which one of his paintings inspired you. You take a look at the characteristics again. We will do that. You will put characteristics of your own if you would like to. If you want to change it up a little bit, you can. But I do want you to use one of Jean Michel's painting as a tool for you to create your scratch artwork. Have fun and do a great job.